Thank you, Biddy. It has been a long journey, but many of you, I imagine, don't know too much about the Palliative Care Council, and that's one of the problems that we have. So we're here. We're going to tell you today that we were actually set up in 2008. This followed an exhaustive search by an advisory group to set out exactly why we were to be put in place. Eventually it happened. Not in the form that we would have liked, but it was set up under Cancer Control New Zealand, and we share their secretariat and so on in Wellington, so that Wayne and Craig Tamlin, the General Manager, are key people as far as we're concerned in getting things done. Now, when it was established, we were provided with our key points of what we should be aiming at. And they're quite simple. They're the sort of things that you would all understand. We were to look at the access to the essential services for people with a life-limiting and life-threatening illness. We were to look at service models and frameworks for palliative care. We were to look at the palliative and end-of-life care needs for specific population groups, for the workforce requirements, and for equity of access. Now, one of the first things that happened when we were formed was that we very quickly realised, when you looked at the research and so on, was that there was no baseline data. No one really knew what was happening in palliative care in New Zealand. And that has been one of the key things that we've done over the last 2.5 years. We can tell you today that we've achieved the first phase of that major report, and Wayne is going to bring some of that detail to you. But we've also done some quite interesting stuff, which will all be fitting in with it to further inform any future decision making. Wayne and Craig Tamlin themselves have seen most palliative care people in the country. They went right round and spoke to most of them. Are there still any holes, Wayne? In Invercargill. We haven't got quite that far yet. And we're certainly not going down there today. But they actually tried to find out what was happening and how people were handling it. And as part of that, that informed the setup and the way that the major needs assessment was done. But we've also done other pieces of work, and one of which is very close to fruition, on a monitoring and evaluation framework, which Wayne will also give you a few words on, to be quite specific. Whereas my role is slightly different. I'm not really a figures man, I'm a broad picture person with a media background. But I'm very good at standing up and saying to all our experts, and we have palliative care physicians, hospice physicians, we have palliative care nurses, we have hospice people, hospice managers, and so on. We cover a very broad term, including aged care. But I'm very quick to be able to stand up and say to them, let's not forget the patient. And that's what it's all about. So we try to keep that to the forefront all the time. And one of our other important things at the present time is when we looked at what we needed. If you looked at the palliative care strategy when it first came out, there was a definition which said there was or had identified a need for an umbrella organisation for palliative care. And we came up with a phrase that would be able to speak with one clear voice for palliative care. Now, we're still working on that. It is a work in progress. There have been several meetings recently where, for instance, the Palliative Care Council and the Palliative Care Advisory Group sat in the same room and quite enjoyed it. They actually discovered that they were the same people, and they were all colleagues who've all done the same thing, but again, they're an amazing lot who focus on the patient. And what we want to be able to assure you is that when we talked about working in partnership, we believe that we now at least have that in front of us. We can see some ways forward to achieving that partnership so that possibly there won't be any duplication of effort. Possibly there will be a clear definition of exactly what we're going to do. Now, to help provide the material to do that, Wayne and a very high-powered advisory group, who we'll mention to you, set about the needs assessment. It is an exhaustive document of which we are very proud and in which we have congratulated Wayne for his lead role. I can also say that when the letter came back from the Minister, who'd seen phase 1, he just wrote on it, "Excellent." Now, how about primary care and aged care? Wayne.